Welcome back to Toast Sports Baseball. I'm your host, AJ. We got Joe here with us. Baseball is officially back, and the chaos has already started. Walk-offs, sweeps, suspensions, and a lot of dingers. We're recapping the wildest opening moments from this last weekend, diving into some fantasy risers and fallers, and placing some side bets that could get a little embarrassing for one of us real quick. Let's start. Let's talk about it. Opening day weekend recap. Joe, the Yankees smashed 15 home runs in 3 days. Let's talk about that first. That needs to be point number one. Are they for real, or was this just kind of a fluke thing to start the year?
Torpedo bats, torpedo bats, torpedo bats. No, they had a good series. We'll talk about the torpedo bats in a bit, but, it's still young. Do I think that old, decrepit, having the walkout with a cane lineup is going to continue to produce like that? No, but, they had a great opening weekend for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't discount the fact that they just tied, I think it was an MLB record. At the very least, it was a team record, 15 home runs, 3 games. Aaron Judge was unbelievable. 7 for 14, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. He had like a 1.89 OPS. It was a fun weekend if you were a Yankees fan. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the bats for sure. But man, big weekend for those guys. Kind of staying on the East Coast, but looking down a little bit. Not far from New York, but Washington, D.C., Mackenzie Gore, opening day gem. 6 innings pitched, only 1 hit allowed, 13 Ks, 2 walks. What more can you say about this guy?
Yeah, I think it's a guy that's figuring it out at the big league level. And there was definitely some people saying that he had a lot of potential and he had some ups and downs last year, but looks like he's off to a very good start. If you're a Nationals fan and that could be your potential ace for many years to come, you got to be really excited.
Yeah, you got to think he's kind of taken that next step to be like a true ace. I know he's had some ups and downs that kind of start his career, as a lot of guys have, though. But man, what a way to start the year. It'll be interesting to see how he carries that over into his next start. It's all about consistency. So, you can have a stellar game to open it up and then serve up 8 runs next outing, and this will be a whole different conversation. But man, I think he set a Nationals opening day strikeout record. That might have set an opening day record for strikeouts for a lot of teams, to be honest. 13 is no easy feat.
Yeah, when you're the ace, your job's to set the tone. When you're on the win streak, you keep winning and then stop the bleeding. When you're on the losing streak, you got to get the win. So great start for him. Obviously, we'll be keeping up and seeing what he's doing throughout the rest of the season.
Speaking of the NL East, the Marlins, man.
Parlay killer.
The parlay killer.
Yep.
If your name is not Paul Skeens. Marlins walked off 3 straight against the Pirates. They're 3-3 to start the year. All 3 of their wins are walk-offs. I think it's the first team to do that since like 2003. I think it was the Rays. And on the other side of things, the Pirates are the first ever team, or not ever team, but the first team to be walked off in their first 3 losses since like 1924. So might as well be ever. Are the Marlins clutch, or are they just a lucky team? What's going on?
I'd say it sounds a lot like a fluke, just based off those stats you gave. I still don't have a lot of faith in the Marlins. I wish the Marlins were in the AL East so the Red Sox could play them a lot of times. But, it's baseball. You got to play all 9 innings or however many innings it is. You got to get the last out. You got to get 27 outs. And the Marlins refused the Pittsburgh Pirates from getting 27 outs. So,
yeah. Yeah, that was rough. I do think it's a little discouraging from a Pirates fan standpoint when your bona fide ace goes out there, pitches relatively a gem, to be honest. I think he struck out 7 in 5 or 6 innings. And then just to watch that lead just kind of crumble away at the end on opening day, that's tough. But yeah, man, when you look at that division, starting to look a little less scary though. we'll get into that a little bit later, but definitely some stuff to talk about if you're a Marlins fan, for sure.
For sure. And when you're in a division like that, when it's all up for grabs per se, the series with the Marlins where they walk you off 3 games, it's like you got to get 2 of those.
Yes.
That's how you make the playoffs. They're going to have to pick up some ground and, see what they can do. But that was definitely a missed opportunity for the Pirates.
No doubt. So let's actually continue on this opening weekend trend here. I was shocked by some things this week. I think you were shocked by some things this week. Or I guess is last week. The Cardinals, we're going to kind of switch gears here, but the Cardinals sweeping the Twins. Everybody thought this team was not really built to do much this year. All of a sudden they come out of the gate, sweep the Twins that won 80 something games last year. They look good too. It wasn't just, it wasn't like they just kind of walked in, won a couple of walk-off games. They actually spanked the Twins up and down the field pretty much. You got any take on that?
I think it's Twins got a lot of turmoil at the moment, a lot of question marks. I don't think they expected to be swept, especially from a kind of a underwhelming Cardinals roster, at least not the ones we're used to, or that they're used to. But I mean, kudos to the Cardinals. They took care of business. They were at home. It's always great to win for the fans on opening day in your own home park, especially with one as much tradition as the St. Louis Cardinals. So to me, it's too early to say anything, but it definitely was shocking. I was very surprised they swept, and I think it was just they put together 3 days of good baseball.
Yeah, I think the thing that probably surprised me the most was how well their pitching staff held up over those 3 days. Not only did they score a good amount of runs, I think they scored 19 runs in 3 games, but they only allowed 10, maybe 7. They allowed 7 runs over 3 games, 9-2 on the sweep there. Very impressive from a staff that I don't really have an overly confident feeling about. I actually feel better about their lineup than I do their pitching staff.
Yeah, they got some vets. Sonny Gray's still around, and he's kind of found a good home in St. Louis, and he had a good outing. Steven Matz is hanging around. I mean, they just got some guys with some experience, and sometimes they put it together for a series. So I think the true identity of the Cardinals will come when they start playing some more games and some stiffer competition.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a fun point to mention on that last game. I mentioned that 9-2 game. Something cool that you don't see very often anymore. I was just looking this up. So Palante started the game for the Cardinals. Ober was on the opposite side. Palante went 5 innings, threw 78 pitches. Ober only lasted 2.2 innings, gave up 8, but also pitched 77 pitches. But there was only 2 more pitchers in the entire game, 1 on each side. So you don't see a lot of games anymore where teams basically just go too deep on either side of the field. That was kind of cool. Steven Matz, one you just mentioned, closed it out for the Cardinals, pitching 4 innings, and Dobnik for the Twins pitched 5.1 innings, only 1 earned run on 79 pitches. Not a bad start for him. But yeah, it was kind of a unique little tidbit there.
Saving the bullpen, got to do it. Sometimes you got to do it.
I'm guessing it was pretty taxed from the first 2 days, is my guess. But yeah, not bad. And the only other thing I'll mention about that series, Victor Scott II, dude was kind of electric. I think he hit like 400 in the first 3 games. Had a home run, couple RBIs. Nice young talent, man. I kind of like him, and Pedro Pajes, another home run he added as well. So I don't know, man. Maybe the Cardinals were counted out a little too early. I still don't know if I have enough faith in them to get it done. But listen, man, they are a prestigious organization that has a long history of winning in a division that's, doesn't scare anybody. So we'll see. Let's go to the NL West. I know there's a guy on your fantasy team that you kind of want to talk about here. Hasn't lit the world on fire like we thought he might, but let's hear this about Roki Sasaki, man. Tough debut in the stateside. I think he finished 3.2 innings, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks. He did strike out 5, but nobody's really been questioning the strikeout stuff. But there was something that happened post game. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. There was some tears of disappointment, sadness. I'm not really sure. Let's hear your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a guy coming in, thrown in the bigs for the first time, completely different environment. He has a pitch clock now, as compared to in Japan where he didn't. He was able to take his time. His fastball velocity is down a couple miles an hour. And, I think when you're used to being a fastball heavy guy and being able to blow by people like where he came from, then you're not really able to locate and you got a little less juice on the mound. It becomes really hard to pitch because those big league guys, if you can't throw your fastball or locate your fastball and you're not confident in your fastball, and then you can't throw it for a strike, they're going to be hunting specific pitches.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he had to get into more of his arsenal. And he just, I think he's 22, 23 years old. He has some stuff he has to figure out. Obviously, the ceiling's extremely high for him. I think some people will call it passion. Obviously, you're playing poker as a pitcher. You never want to show your emotions. So I think that's where some people kind of have a kind of bad taste in their mouth with him. However, to me, it's just a culture shock for him. I think he'll respond and be just fine. He's so young and has so much skill that he'll be fine. So he'll pick it up. I'm not really worried.
I know we had former MLB catcher Jonathan Lucroy. He was pretty aggressive in his take on Roki and the whole crying in the dugout thing. I think it wasn't so much of the fact of this guy's crying. I think it was more of kind of keep that away from some of the publicity of it. If you want to be emotional, that's fine. This is an emotional game. But at the end of the day, it's a profession. Be professional. That's his take. It's a little old school, but that is what it is. There are guys out there that have that take. I think he did walk it back a little bit. I think it's not that he's not rooting for the kid, but his take on it as an former MLB catcher is, I've caught for top picks. I've caught for guys that, were nobodies and had great games or just had terrible games. And his whole take is the guys that I saw succeed over their careers were ones that, took on the challenge. They didn't kind of pout about it. They understood that they had a bad game, but they went back out and found ways to fix it the next game. So, we have to give Roki a little bit of cushion here too, because maybe he does come out next game and throws an absolute gem. So who knows? But yeah, I think it's fair to have a little bit of criticism, but at the end of the day, man, it's passion. You gotta love seeing some passion out of the young guys, and you can tell he's got a lot of passion.
Yeah, and I also think it's good to note because LaCroix kind of paints this picture that he's like pouting.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was pouting. I think it was, obviously he was disappointed in himself. And I think it was like he let the team down. Do I still, think he should be crying as a grown man? No. But
on national television, I think it's just,
go
down. You got the dugout there. Go ahead down and
it's just such a different culture, and they take their pride to the nth extent, especially when it comes to like when they feel like they've been given an opportunity, they want to live up to that opportunity. And most people do, but I just think it's to a different extreme with the Japanese players. And it is odd because you usually don't see any emotion out of international Asian players. You know, the South Koreans, the Japanese, they are just cold stone, you know, people. So it is kind of like, you know, hey, this guy might have a personality one day. You know, he's wearing his emotions on his sleeves, which, you know, some fans like, and, you know, other people, they don't want to see it. So I understand both sides for sure. Him being on the fantasy team and taking him early in the draft, he's going to figure it out for sure. So
absolutely.
He's
got a lot of good years ahead of him. Got a lot of good games ahead of him this year as well. I like it. But yeah, I would not be regretting that pick right now. I think it's still a good pick. Let's switch gears here a little bit. We kind of mentioned it early, but Aaron Judge, this start for Aaron Judge, you know, especially a guy that is already coming off a ridiculous year. AL MVP, World Series
participant.
And he goes out and starts the year batting 500, 4 homers, 11 RBIs in a 3-game series. Pretty nasty. The
new cap. So, yeah, I mean, the Yankees are going to go as far as they do as long as he's playing. So he's a stud. You don't want to make contact because he's strong like bull. So
yeah, he doesn't need a torpedo bat, man.
He doesn't need a torpedo bat. So he's he's an issue. So you got a game plan around him if you're opposing teams. That's for sure.
Do you have you got a prediction on how many home runs this guy hits this year? Just off the rip.
I'm gonna go 54.
Yeah, I mean that's probably not I'm gonna go a little higher. I think he's gonna hit 58 this year. I think it's gonna get scary. I mean, if he stays healthy, anything's possible with him. It's pretty cool too I was gonna say it's pretty cool when you can also hit pop flies for home runs at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
But MVP, I mean, he's got to be up there in the discussion, if not the front runner the entire year.
Yeah, I think it's always his MVP to lose in the AL right now. He's in the prime of his career. You know, he's got the stadium that supports his swing, and they still have a good supporting cast around him as well. So you got to figure out ways to not allow him in positions to succeed.
I always love watching a guy in a Boston Red Sox hat just talk a little bit nice about the Yankees here, man. It just it warms my heart. Absolutely warms my heart.
But you always want them good. It's always better when you beat them when they're good. So.
Yeah. That is true. I just have to throw it out there though. We did have a prediction last week. Pretty sure there was a thought of Yankees not making the playoffs. We sticking by that right now?
It's hard. They're not making it.
All right. I love it. Double down. How about a guy that knows a lot about New York, no longer plays there? Jacob deGrom. Old dude, man. He's basically a geriatric player at this point, but he doesn't look like one when he's healthy.
Pretty sure he's making 40 mil too.
Yeah, that never hurts.
Yeah, he's back, and he's back in a different way. I think his fastball was between like 95, 97. And that is, according to him, on purpose. He still has 100 in the tank, but he's choosing to not let it all out so he can stay healthy. And he still had his command. Breaking stuff was moving like crazy. I mean, he's the reason why I have the Rangers making it to the World Series, is because I think he's going to have a great year. Yeah. So, and geez, he's their 4th starter right now.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
He's probably their best starter, but I mean, to have him in the 4th slot,
I think I think Nathan Eovaldi would probably have something to say about that. But yeah, man. I mean, Rangers are managing his innings early, but to be expected. And I do like the fact that he's kind of pulling back a little bit, because I know last year, I think it was last year, maybe it was the year, it might have been the year before. He came out of spring. He was healthy after coming off an injury. His first like 7 or 8 pitches of the start of the year were like 101, 102, 101. It was crazy. And everybody was like, wow, he's back. deGrom's back. He was putting everything into his start. Fast forward 2 starts later, he's done for basically the entire year. So I kind of like the fact that he's pulling back a little bit. You don't have to, at his age and what he's got, like his stuff, he doesn't have to overpower you all the time. He can. He absolutely can. But I mean, he can get you out in a million different ways. And I think that as he kind of gets into the tail end of his career here, just being a little smarter with the way that he, treats his body and his effort level on the mound throughout an entire start is going to be paramount to, him staying healthy. So I like it. I agree, though. I think deGrom might be able to carry the Rangers further than maybe, what we think could be just a World Series appearance. Might be a win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't want to be facing Jacob deGrom if he's healthy in the World Series.
Absolutely not.
And what's crazy is like there's only, Verlander still does it where, I don't want to say old pitching philosophy, but all these guys today are max effort almost every pitch. And say you go back to like the Pedros and the Greg Maddoxes and those Kurt Schillings and those guys, most people from that era, their fastball, they're only throwing it 90 to 95%. And they're saving that, I'm going to gas you up in a situation where they want to gas you up because that's their strategy. And I think deGrom is kind of going to that mentality, and I think he's going to have, 1, more longevity, which is key. And 2, he's still going to be able to gas you up if he wants to. So if he gets an account and he needs to throw 101 for 1 pitch, he's got it. But he doesn't have to throw 101 80 pitches. So I think it's great. I'm rooting for him to stay healthy, not only for my pick, but because baseball's better when he's playing and pitching. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
So let's talk about his teammate real fast. We won't dig too far into the Rangers right now, but Nathan Eovaldi, man, did you watch or see any of the highlights from that start? It was pretty nasty. He went 9 innings, complete game shutout in a 1-0 game against a team that absolutely went nuclear the day prior, by the way. Allowed 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, and the most impressive stat of the entire thing, he stayed under 100 pitches.
Yeah, it was a Greg Maddux start.
It was a Greg Maddux start. Unbelievable. But when you look at that pitching staff, you got Nathan Eovaldi doing this, and you got deGrom coming back healthy. I mean, who wants to face this team right now?
They have a chance. They have a chance. They just got to get there. You got to, especially if you're doing a 7-game series, and Eovaldi can start twice in that. So, yeah, I mean, they're dangerous. Eovaldi looks great. He's also on the back end as well, and he's just such a hell of a competitor, especially when he was on the Sox. Getting to watch him a lot. Seems like a super good dude. So he's got nasty stuff. He's got some of the nasty stuff I've seen as well. So
he can ramp it up there too. I think he gets up into the high 90s, if not low hundreds. So I mean, just filthy staff right now. Looking, and some young guys too. I not a team I want to be playing against come postseason, that's for sure. Another team that I'm starting to not want to play, which, by the way, my Cubs are about to have to play this week. Not looking forward to it. The San Diego Padres. Best start in franchise history. They are currently 7-0 now. They have scored 36 runs. They've only allowed 11 in their first 7 games. Are they? I I won't say they're the team to beat, but are they maybe the second team to beat in the NL right now?
They very well could be. I think a lot of people slept on them. I think they lost some people in free agency. Didn't really sign anyone. They did get Nick Pivetta. And, they're like, whatever. This team's going to finish third behind Arizona. And they're still, they still got studs all around them. Tatis, freaking Jackson Merrill.
What's up with that guy? All he's doing is hitting 400, 2 homers, 8 ribbies already this year.
Locked in. He's locked in.
He's like a vet. He's like a vet out there.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be around. I think they're going to be annoying in the NL West for the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, and I don't think many people are going to want to play them.
No, I cannot wait to watch the Padres Dodgers series whenever that comes. I don't have a date for you right now, but when that game when that series happens, I'm shutting everything down. I want to watch that one. Jackson Merrill also just was extended a contract. So 9 years, $135 million. Is this a good move for him? For the team, it's great. I mean, I love that contract. For him, there's got to be some opt-out clauses in there somewhere, because that's a long time to be tied up on a contract that's more or less team friendly.
Maybe he's the new Mr. Pop.
Yeah?
Yeah, but if I'm San Diego, I'm ecstatic.
Yes.
I mean, 135 million is 135 million. I wish someone would sign me for that. So it would be an easy decision for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's all it is. It's security. So I don't know his exact age, but I would assume he'd get out around 32 years old. So he probably has another opportunity to make another 100 mil after that.
Yeah, he's actually only 21 currently, so he would
30.
be
so yeah, he's
29 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. So he would
or 30.
He's still going to be in the prime of his career when he gets out of there, so he could easily get 300 if he's a stud. So yeah, I think it's a great move for the Padres. I think it's a solid move for Merrill. Why risk it? Why risk it? Go collect that 135 mil and pay them California taxes. So
yeah, it does sound like too. It includes a $30 million club option for the 10th season, and it also has a maximum value of $204 million. So
incentives.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to like. I think the kid's going to be an absolute superstar. But again, you're right. I mean, he's only going to be 30 years old. This might be the first of a few massive contracts for this guy. So.
He really at least has one more big one, in my opinion, if he's still producing. So, but I mean, when would he hit free agency? When he's 24, 25? If he didn't sign something, I mean, that's a lot of time to produce. And he's also making 700,000. Now he's making whatever that number is, 135 divided by 9 a year.
A lot.
Still he's making 15 a year. So
yeah.
I think that's pretty good for your 20s.
Yeah, I agree. So switching gears to a little bit more maybe disappointing things that we might be a little disappointed of this last weekend, and just in general, right? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how disappointed I was personally as a fan. And I think a lot of people were probably a little peeved about this. MLB.TV. It's opening day. I'm sitting there. I'm pumped. I'm just absolutely fired up for the season. Opening day games come on, and the app just doesn't work. The app on the phone doesn't work. The app on the computer doesn't work. You can't get it on the TV. Can't watch anything. Basically locked out across all devices, mobile, smart TVs. It didn't matter. Why can the MLB not get it right when it comes to opening day? This seems to be a tradition now, almost every year.
It's unacceptable. And it's why you go use Fubo. Yeah. It's why you don't do MLB TV. So, Fubo, if you're listening, we'd love to have you as a sponsor. Fubo TV, Fubo TV, Fubo TV. I love
Yeah,
it.
throw it
So,
out there.
but yeah, I mean, you got one day. You have to plan for one day where you're going to get the majority of your audience and you can't figure it out. Not great. People need to get canned.
Yeah, it's not like they didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, if the MLB.TV app doesn't know that opening day is coming, we got a whole nother thing we need to talk about. But
Right.
yeah, man, it's just super disappointing. It, and forget about the monetary piece of it, but that also plays into it. People are spending a good bit of money to be able to watch on this app, and one of the most important days of the entire season, and you basically just shit the bed if we're being honest. So pretty crazy. Hopefully they can sort that out and get it right moving forward. Just one of the most disappointing things of the entire weekend. They did get it to their credit. They did get it fixed for the second start of games. So it was a relatively quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
But man, you get all that emotion and just passion and ready to go for those first starts, and you don't get to watch them. Tough break for fans, man. Tough break.
For sure. And there's always the old adage that any asshole can do it twice. So
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of disappointing, by the way, this might be even more disappointing depending on who you root for. The Atlanta Braves.
It's insane.
By the way, we're sitting here. It is April 2nd, everybody, at 9 p.m. We still have not seen the Atlanta Braves win a baseball game in the 2025 season. They are the only team without a win in the MLB. That includes teams like the White Sox and A's, by the way. What's going on, man? Is it panic time in Atlanta? What's going on here?
I wouldn't say it's panic time, but people are starting off slow. That's for sure. And you got to hope that they figure it out. They did have to play the Dodgers and the Padres. So, pretty stiff competition out of the gate. But, they got some guys on there that are studs. And, eventually one of those 7 games, your studs got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a case of hopefully wait and see. They got a lot of money invested in that lineup. They got a lot of guys that are kind of solidified their position because of their length of contract. So,
yep.
I don't think it's the end all be all for the Braves. It's just very insane that they can't win a game.
Yeah, it's a tough break getting Padres and Dodgers to start the year. On top of that, you've got Matt Olson is basically just not been able to hit a ball. Austin Riley not able to hit a ball.
No Acuna.
No Acuna still. And now, you lose, a guy that you went out and got in the offseason for PED use, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But if I'm going to give the Braves fans out there a little bit of something just to feel good about, they are 30th in batting average right now, which doesn't sound great. Their OBP is 30th. They're slugging 30th. But when you look at the contact that they're making, they're barreling the ball at the 5th best rate in all of baseball. Their hard hit percentage is tied for 15th, and their walk percentage is tied for 3rd. There's a lot to like about being able to turn the tides here. And maybe it was just, you ran into 2 crazy hot teams. You're not getting the benefit of some of the contact that you're putting out there. I still like the Braves. I think they have way too much talent to dismiss them. I think you were out of your mind right now if you told me they're not making the playoffs still. But man, it's tough to watch. I think they went 34 innings and only had 1 run in the 34 innings. So it's definitely tough to watch. There's another guy on their team though, Drake Baldwin. Interesting prospect. I know a lot of people feel really good about this guy. He might be the unluckiest hitter in baseball this year so far.
Yeah, no, he's it's part of the game. Unfortunately, there's 7 dudes out there trying to rob your lunch, and when you hit it right at them, man, it's really easy for them to rob your lunch. So, um, you just gotta stay focused, trust your plan, and eventually those will fall.
Yeah, I've seen more than a few clips already of this guy. I actually watched one of the games against the Padres. I think there was a shot that came off of his bat at like 109, went right to the center. It's like, and then I think he's had two home runs robbed already. Unlucky start to the career. Behind the plate, the guy's been money, absolutely money. Op time is amazing. He frames the ball like a seasoned vet. I don't know. I think the Braves have a really good one on their hands there, and it might make it a little awkward when Sean Murphy comes back.
Yeah, I mean, when you're the catcher, your job's to manage the staff. That's your number one priority. Hitting's number 2. So if you can do that, and plus you barrel the ball up, that puts you in the lineup a lot of times.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
And with today where people have 2 catchers on their roster anyways that are usually getting in a lot, he's going to get playing time. So,
and since we're talking about the Braves, we'd be remiss to not talk about some of the top stories that are going on right now. And there's no story bigger than Jerks and Profar. Suspended for 80 games. He tested positive for some substance. The report I saw was HCG.
Yeah, it's the same thing Manny Ramirez got banged for.
Okay, perfect. Bad news bears for these guys. You're 0-6 to start the year. Turn around, and in a blink, you've now just lost one of your big offseason acquisitions for PEDs at the beginning. He was hitting 33, I believe. Not a lot of at-bats, obviously. Had a home run. How much does this impact the Braves right now in the interim? Obviously, we're still waiting for Acuna to come back, but is this a big deal? Is it, not going to be that impactful? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it shortens their lineup a lot, especially when Acuna gets back. I think it's interesting. I blame this more on the MLB with this whole steroid thing because these guys, if they get caught, if you want to make it in your league where there's going to be no steroids, your first punishment shouldn't be 80 games. Because how much did Jerickson sign for? How much is he making this year of guarantee money? And his punishment's only a little more than half the season. It's like, either put it in your either have it in their contract where if they get caught with any type of banned substance like steroids that they lose out on their contract becomes null and void. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see a lot less of it. I just think the punishment should be more if that's the direction of the MLB. Is to have it not in the game. But yeah, I mean, I think it hurts the Braves. I think they had plans for him to kind of not be a cornerstone, but give protection to their guys and extend their lineup to make it tough on pitching staffs. And they lost that guy.
Yeah, he had a pretty decent year last year. I think especially coming off a year like that, you had Acuna out. They were really expecting him to kind of come in and take on a big role. Tough break for them, especially considering the way the season started. But helps on the way. Acuna's, I think he's due back mid-May, maybe late May, depending on how the spring training games go. But tough break. Mikey Harris, though, man, he's been looking good. I think he broke the streak for the scoreless innings with a nice little home run there in LA.
Well, I would, for sure. The streak had to be broken, but I'd keep an eye on Acuna. I'm rooting for him, but dude's got 2 new knees. I mean,
a little worried.
It's this. Are you really going to let him run the base path? Are you really going to make him go hunt down these balls in the outfield? Like, you're going to have this guy play. So how are you going to have this guy play? He's going to have to move the DH at some time. So
yeah,
I think it's I think the Acuna thing's not going to be a solution to all like it would have been in the past. But yeah, I mean, hopefully he's still a stud. I predict that he will be, but just something to watch out for.
Yeah, and two more quick disappointing things here. One, I don't know if everybody's heard yet, but Freddie Freeman got injured in probably the weirdest way. Outside of, what was the report in the offseason? Dustin May cut his esophagus with a piece of lettuce. This might be the second weirdest. Freddie Freeman slipped in the shower, rolled his surgically repaired ankle. He is expected to miss 2 to 3 games. Could be a little bit more depending on how he's feeling. Definitely disappointing. We've been wanting to see Freddie. We haven't really gotten to see much of him. He didn't play in the games over in Japan. He's one of the better players in baseball. I mean, it only helps when he's on the field from a fan's perspective. So definitely disappointing.
Yeah, get that guy some floaties or something in the shower. I don't know. Some shower shoes. What are the Dodgers doing?
Yeah.
Protect that asset.
Yeah, come on. We know that they can afford it. We know they can afford it. And then we got to talk about, this is one more real hot take here. I know everybody's talking about it. Torpedo bats. What's going on, man? What's going on with all these torpedo bats? I'm going to break it down real quick and simple here. These are not new bats. These are not new bats. These have been around. Teams have been using them over the last season, at least, if not longer than that. You had guys using them in the MLB in opening weekend. Everybody was talking about Yankees this, Yankees that, because they went crazy and hit a bunch of home runs. These bats are MLB regulated. They are approved. The only difference is they shifted the mass of the bat to the sweet spot of the barrel, but the size, length, weight, all the same. So it's not like it's an illegal thing, but it is a hot topic right now. They are weird looking. People are trying to figure it out all over the MLB. Players are starting to switch to this thing. Is there something there, or is this just kind of a non-story that everybody's making a story?
I think it's interesting. I had to educate myself. I definitely wanted to go blame the Yankees immediately. And then I found out it was only Jazz Chisholm and I think Volpe that are using it on the Yankees. And I heard the perfect comparison. It's basically these bats, you do these tests like you're in the golf shop getting custom clubs. Mm-hmm. And you have a custom swing, and instead of slicing now, they're able to get this, customize your club where you're no longer slicing. And that's essentially what this torpedo bat does, is that it's showing you where you usually hit the ball on the bat. And if you're hitting it just below the barrel, then they move the sweet spot of the barrel to that spot where you usually hit it. So I think, which more data has to be shown, is that if you're a pitcher and you're having these scouting reports and say Jazz Chisholm struggles with inside velocity. I don't know if that's true, but let's just say that as a hypothetical. Well, now if he's moved his sweet spot a little lower down the bat, then he should, in theory, be able to get the barrel on average, on those inside pitches with velocity or whatever he struggles with. So my guess is that the pitchers will adopt to this, and eventually they will get a new kind of hot cold zone with players that use torpedo bats, and then you're just going to focus on those new cold zones. But I do think right now, if a player's using a torpedo bat like Jazz, you're going to have to refigure it out. I don't think you can just take the old scouting report and assume that his cold zone's here, because he's already altered his bat to take away a negative from his swing. Yeah. So in that sense, it's pretty cool. These hitters are allowed to do anything now, and it kind of makes you say, like, well, the pitchers should be able to use some stuff too now. The pitchers are always criticized. They're basically always assume that they're cheating. They have to get checked by the umpire after every inning. And it's, maybe the hitter should have some type of protocol too, especially if they're allowed to customize their bat. The pitcher can't customize the ball to have the ball move in a direction. They have to they have to do it with the ball they're given with. So I think that's the only viewpoint that I think that I haven't really heard that I'd like to be discussed more. And I also would like to see the data of the new hot and cold zones of players that are using the torpedo bats.
Yeah, bring back the spider tack, man. But yeah, I wouldn't call it a non-story. I think there might be a bigger story in that whole Yankees matchup there, and that's how bad the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff was.
For sure.
They allowed 15 home runs, and you can scream torpedo bat if you want. Savale, Connor Thomas, and Nestor Cortez, those three pitchers, if you're a Brewers fan, you need to look those guys in the eye and go, y'all allowed 11 out of the 15 home runs in like record time. Nestor Cortez, 2 innings pitched, allowed 5 home runs, 8 earned runs. Connor Thomas relieves him, pitches another 2 innings, allows 8 earned runs and 3 more homers. So it's not, and it didn't continue. I think that's the other thing that people are missing. If you look at the box score, the home runs stopped. After those guys got pulled, Savale, Connor Thomas, and Nestor Cortez, it's not like there was a ton more homers. The bullpen shut them down. So, I think really what they need to start looking at is how bad is our starting rotation? In Nestor Cortez's situation, he might be one of the worst pitchers of all time. So, at least statistically to start the season.
He needs to add a little more stall in his delivery, and then he'll be good. Just pause for an extra second and a half. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a torpedo bat thing. Definitely the pitching. Yeah, if you leave it middle, you're going to get hit. So
absolutely. Speaking of guys that have had really rough starts like Nestor Cortez, there's a guy, same division, Rafi Devers, man. What's going on here? Mr. Boston himself, let's hear your take. 1 for 21, 15 strikeouts. One of the worst starts in baseball history. Should they be dropping him down the order at all right now, or what do you think?
No, I think he's fine. There's a lot of guys. Casas is hitting like 100, something like that. So
yeah.
Bregman's hitting like 222. I just think from the drama from the spring training, the Boston sports writers need something to write about. He picked up his first hit today. It happens.
Let's go.
It happens. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with his shoulders. That's kind of the other inquiry. People are calling him overweight. I've seen fat people hit a lot of baseballs very far. So, however, his bat speed is down significantly. And I think there's only 2 players that whiff on fastballs over 50%, and he leads it, and it's at 78%. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely some concerning stuff, but it's just too small of a sample size, and you got to trust the career he's already had so far that he's going to figure it out.
I personally think he sucks right now. I think he sucks. I think
for sure.
I think Rafael Devers absolutely is horrible right now. But I think it's more for me personally. I know there's definitely something going on there just from a swing mechanic standpoint. I think there's a lot going on between the ears that needs to get figured out. This guy needs to buy in a little bit. It's not a secret that he was very unhappy about the whole third base movement to DH. I think he's bought in from a outwardly standpoint to the team. I don't think he's bought in himself yet. I think he needs to embrace his new role and go out there and just do what you do best, which is hit the ball anyway. And collect your check and go home and just live a great life. You live in a great sports town with people that support you. Go out there and be the DH, that they know that you can be. So I I think there's more to come on that. I think he's gonna get it together. He's too talented, too young. But there's also good things about the Red Sox right now that I know you're just itching to talk about. Red Sox ownership. Are they building a? Is this a dynasty in the making right now?
Dynasty.
We got Crochet signed 6 years, 170 million. Christian Campbell signed today, 8 years, $60 million. Wow. Team friendly deals, but also good for the players as well. How excited are you for this?
This is the most excited I've been about Red Sox baseball in a while. No need. There's no. We don't need the Dodgers anymore. The Red Sox are here. But in all reality, the Red Sox have built a window of 6 years with extending Crochet, and they now have a lot of core pieces that can be a World Series contender for the next 6 years, especially when they supplement the roster. Obviously, Campbell's hitting like 355 already this year. He's 6'2", he's athletic, another grinder, can play outfield as well, so he's versatile. And he's locked up for just nothing. I mean, $7.5 million a year. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And once again, he gets to come out. I think he's 22, so he'll be 30 when he gets out of this contract. And then he has incentives up to $100 million. They got Bayo locked up for another 5 years. He's making $9 million a year. They obviously got Devers. You got Bregman, who's making 40, but he can also opt out after this year. They got Rafael, who signed an 8-year contract last year for $50 million, so he's got 7 years left. You got Wilyer Abreu, who still has arbitration. You have Jared Duran, who still has another 2 years of arbitration. Willier's 26, Duran's 28. And then you have arguably 2 of the top 5 prospects in baseball with Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony that are destroying it right now in AAA.
Yeah. So let's talk about that then. So from a GM standpoint, obviously you're feeling good. What's next? What if you were the GM of the Boston Red Sox and I just gave you the keys to the city right now, what are you doing right now to improve the team even past what you've already done?
What I would try to do is get rid of Trevor Story's contract for sure. And that's going to, open up Marcelo Meyer, who's going to give you at least the same but possibly better defense automatically. And then offensively, it should be an upgrade with how Trevor Story's regressed since signing in Boston and with his injuries. And I think the only way you do that is if you trade Jared Duran. So if you trade Jared Duran and then tag Story's contract with that, I think that would entice a team to accept that trade.
Yeah. I don't disagree at all. I think Jared Duran is an absolute beast. I really love him as a player. He's got wheels. He's got some pop. He's got some flair. I love it. I think whatever you can do to get out from Trevor Story's contract right now, you got to try and make that priority number one. But to your point, man, you got 2 studs down there right now in Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony that are just waiting to, kind of be the next big thing in baseball, especially in Boston. So you gotta get those guys up into the show and just see what they can do. And the faster that you can do that, the better.
Well, and especially with the incentive, where you're incentivized, where you get draft picks when you have rookies up on the big league roster. If you have rookies that can produce the exact same as the players that are in those positions, and you got to figure out how to get them those spots because you can't have them stay in AAA.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be more moves. I don't think they should do it immediately. I know they like Duran as a clubhouse guy, which who wouldn't? But at the end of the day, if you have the core of Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, Campbell, Rafaela, Devers, and then you have Crochet as your ace.
Yeah.
And then you still have Bregman as kind of like your leader. Like you're paying him to be a leader. There's been a leadership void One, because Story's been injured and he hasn't been able to be the leader, but they're paying Bregman to be a leader and mold these young guys. I think you have to complete that vision. And if your time frame was moved up by a year because Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony are ready to go and can be highly productive at your MLB level and roster, then you got to go do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see who would even entertain that. I think some teams would, though. I think some teams would definitely want Duran on 2 more years of arbitration, paying a minimal with all-star production, and then taking a gamble on Trevor Story.
Yeah. No,
and
I don't.
You still have
don't
Tristan Casas too. So if he figures it out, I mean, he's
gone on
Mr.
stretches.
USA. So
he's gone on stretches for sure. So I think another thing that we need to talk about here is a potential offseason plan. You just kind of mentioned Casas there. There's a guy up in the same division in Toronto that I hear might be fond of the Red Sox. Would be fun to watch him play for it. Vladdy Guerrero. What's your thing there? You want to go out and get that guy, get Casas off the roster? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, if they can get Vlad Jr. and you pair him with Devers and the rest of those guys, it's insane. I mean, they have like I said, you want to have the most productive roster you can have in 6 years, because they're probably not going to re-sign Garrett Crochet, especially if he's still an ace and he wants another 250, 300 million at age 30, 31. So, yeah, I would go get, as long as Toronto doesn't give him 700 million, I do think that Vlad Jr. will be in the Red Sox uniform next year, which means that you have to trade. You got to trade. I don't know why I can never remember.
Casas.
You got to trade Casas, which should be add another value to your team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's only up for the Red Sox. I think it's critical that they make the playoffs in some capacity to get that experience, and then you can have a 5-year stretch where that's where, if you're John Henry, you're going way over the luxury tax and you're supplementing this core, and really a deep core, to the extreme. And you see if you can win in 2-3 World Series like they have before when they've had this type of core. But I think this core could be their best core ever.
Yeah,
I don't think they've had this much upside on a roster of young talent ever. That's controllable.
I don't disagree at all. I think they're going to be scary good for quite a long time, at least for the foreseeable future. Let's talk a little fantasy baseball. I'm gonna do a little quick hitter here. This is a quick fantasy baseball update. We've talked about a lot of these guys already. We're going to call this the who's hot, who's not. Let's start out with who's hot. So, Eugenio Suarez, 5 homers, a 1.520 OPS, just scorching hot. Hit a grand slam yesterday against the Yankees. I think it was yesterday. Either way, the guy's absolutely out of his mind right now. What more can you say? If you look back at his last X amount of games, stretching back to last season, actually, the dude's just been on fire. He can't miss. He top maybe 8 third baseman in baseball. Maybe higher.
Better than Riley?
Hot topic, but right now, I mean, how could you say no? How could you say no? I don't know. I don't know about all that yet. It would be fun to see how that pans out. Maybe we get them both in the Derby this year, though. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Another guy on this list, Jazz Chisholm Jr. 3 homers, a 1.264 OPS, a torpedo bat. Dude's absolutely out of his mind right now. Fun to watch him on the Yankees. If he's on anybody's waiver wire, you guys are doing something wrong. So he's probably not available, but maybe he's a sell high candidate in fantasy. Never know. I kind of like him as a sell high candidate. I don't think he's going to keep up that level of production. He's a great player, but I might move him for a couple of good pieces. Andres Jimenez. How about this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, just
Great
throw
week
your
and a
hand,
half, bud.
just throw your hands on it. Yeah. Enjoy your last weekend. It might be the last one that you go this hot on. 308 average, 3 homers. Go pick this guy up for short term. If you have him, sell him. I like Andres Jimenez. I think he's a solid player. He's not going to win you a fantasy championship this year. I can almost certainly say that. Two of our Red Sox guys, Christian Campbell and Wilyer Abreu, both top 20 in OPS. Wilyer Abreu, 2 homers opening day, won the game for the Sox. Really exciting guys, young guys. I would go out and get these guys. I'd trade for them. If you see him on waivers, absolutely pick him up. If you're not in a dynasty league, Christian Campbell might be out there. Take a look, go grab him.
Yeah, I was looking. We have a waiver wire steals coming up, and I was going to add Campbell there, but he's like 87% rostered.
Yeah.
Words out. And what's also nice is he can get, he has currently eligibility at second base, shortstop, and outfield. So he can play 3 different positions on your fantasy team, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, gotta love the variety there. Nathan Eovaldi, we kind of talked about him. 2 quality starts, a 1.20 ERA, 17 strikeouts coming off a complete game shutout. Just an absolute stud. Mackenzie Gore is another one that we talked about as well. He's up to 18 strikeouts with a 2.45 ERA. Fun young guy still. I don't know how much stock I'm putting in him yet, but definitely one to watch. And that is your who's hot. If we're talking about who's not, though, I mean, we've covered a couple of these guys as well, but Devers and Casas for the Red Sox, man, they have a .048 average and a .53 average as of today. Really, really rough.
Your 2-4 hitters for the Boston Red Sox.
I don't even know that we need to spend much more time on them. We've talked about everything there is to talk about those guys. They will get it together. I'm not selling either of those guys yet. Just give them a little bit of time. Let's see what happens over the next maybe week or so, and let's revisit that. Wilson Contreras and William Contreras, by the way, the Contreras brothers, both sucking to start the year. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Wilson Contreras is best known for eating the tape off of his bat like a maniac. And chewing it mid at bat. And then you've got William Contreras hitting a 100 average, not really hitting for power either yet. So that'll come though. He's too young, too good. I don't know about Wilson. He might be on the tail end. He's still got pop though. He's still got pop. Switching over to the AL, Yordan Alvarez. That one's a little weird. That one's a little weird.
Me too. I think he's the best. Well, besides Judge, I think he's the best overall hitter in baseball. Slow start for sure. 0 home runs, very surprising, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. I love his swing. I love Yordan.
Yeah, so I'd bet my life savings on that guy bouncing back and hitting
trade
35
the house for
home runs.
Yordan right now. If someone wants to give him to you, go get him.
Absolutely. Sell Andres Jimenez for him. I don't know.
Yes.
Matt Olson, Austin Riley, the entire Braves roster, just awful. But they will get it together. Trust that they will get it together.
Sure, this is a surprising one for you.
Yeah.
This next guy.
Yeah. Are we talking about Scooble here? Yeah. This guy, now granted, he had to start the year against the Dodgers. That's not fun.
Yeah, no.
It's not fun. But a 5.91 ERA to start the year, not really what you're looking for from your Cy Young winner from last year. He's going to bounce back. Another guy that's young. I don't think, though, if you've got somebody in your league right now that thinks Scooble's going to go out there and going to be a Cy Young pitcher through the entire season again this year, I would bet against it. It's not to say that I don't think he's still going to have a pretty good year, if not a great year, but I don't think he's going to pitch to the level he pitched last year. A lot of guys that have years the way that he just did usually taper off a little bit. If he has a start or two that's just real nasty, maybe trade high. Maybe trade high. I don't know. Depends on who you can get for him, but I definitely see him taking a little bit of a step back. But this start, I wouldn't be overly discouraged about if you did draft him.
Yeah, you got to remember, too, that as soon as he gets back home, it's probably like 20 degrees in Detroit right now. But as soon as it warms up and they start playing some home games, it's a very pitchers-friendly park.
Yeah.
So he still has nasty stuff. I believe he was on the Slab Lab, which is by Dallas Braden. Shout out to that. If you love pitching, go check it out on YouTube. It's amazing. I'm pretty sure he was in there. He's filthy. Just give him some time. Fantasy baseball is not like any other fantasy sport. If you're listening to this, obviously you know that. There's so many weeks. It's such a grind. You got to let some things play out. It's even kind of outrageous to have like hot and not after a week and a half, but it is kind of cool to also see like, Skubal having a 5.91 ERA and Jimenez hitting 308 with 3 home runs, because at the end of the year, Jimenez will have probably 5 home runs and batting to 60. Yeah. And Skubal will have like a 3.3 ERA with 230 strikeouts. So
yeah, absolutely. Makes baseball, especially fantasy baseball, so much fun to kind of watch. And like you said, the best is, and not even from start of season to end of season, Skubal may have, he may throw a no-hitter next week.
Yep.
Jordan might hit 5 home runs in a week, and all of a sudden we're talking about how he's an MVP again. So it's so much fun to watch, especially in fantasy baseball. There are some waiver wire guys out there that are probably available, and if they're not, maybe target them in a low level trade. Ben Rice for the Yankees. So this dude, 96.2% available as of today. That may change very quickly. This guy has 2 home runs, 4 RBIs already. A lot of pop. He's got some plate patience as well. What can you say about this guy, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think in Dynasty League, he's a good pickup, especially with the catching position. I think if you're playing I think in any league, he could be a good pickup because he's at the catcher and he has pop. The only negative is that he's platooning. So you're going to assume that hopefully he wins out that position, or at least he's catching 70 to 80% of the time. Yeah. I think that's where he's going to be most valuable, and that's where you're going to want to have him on your roster. If he keeps platooning, it's going to be tough. But if you're in the catching market right now, because your catcher's giving you 0 production, then I think he's definitely a good choice to throw in your lineup when he is starting.
Yeah. And then in another guy on the waiver wire right now that I know you're pretty stoked about, Jordan Hicks. What can you say about this guy? I put
the percentage on there. I'm getting that real quick for everyone. It's unfortunate because he would be on my roster, but my roster for pitching's so good at starting pitching that he's just not good enough, unfortunately. But yeah, I would be very high on Jordan Hicks. Throws really hard. He's off to a good start. He plays in like a pitcher's dream of a park over in San Fran. And he's off to a really good start as well. So really his issue was always his control. And when you see that he has only 2 walks through 6 innings with this first start, and also has a 1-to-1 K to innings pitch, which is what I always look at with pitchers, because that means they have really nasty stuff. They're missing bats. Really like Jordan Hicks if he's available in your league.
Yeah, high velocity, absolute elite movement on his pitches. The scary thing with the Giants too, you got to face him, and then Doval comes in and throws 102 right after that. There's just no let up in that 1-2 punch. All right, let's talk about this jersey challenge that you and I have. This is a little bit of a side bet that Joe and I have going on here. So each of us have picked some division winners, our World Series matchup, and then our overall winner. We're gonna structure this in a points structure where at the end of the year, we're gonna look back. We're gonna follow this throughout this series. But at the end of the year, the loser is going to buy a jersey of their choice, or the jersey of the winner's choice. So right now, Joe, who's your divisional winners? Who's your World Series matchup and who is your overall winner? We will be keeping track of this and talking about it week to week.
I believe I'm staying with my picks from last week, which I believe were the Red Sox winning the AL East, the Royals winning the AL Central, and the Rangers winning the AL West. And then on the flip side, the Braves winning the NL East, the Reds winning the NL Central, and the Dodgers winning the NL West. Which then I have a Rangers-Dodgers World Series matchup, and then I have the Dodgers going back-to-back for the first time since 1999. Yankees, I believe.
Yeah. It's been quite a while. So I am going to change my picks a little bit from last week now that we've kind of got a little bit of this structure going forward. Nothing crazy here. In the AL East, I still have the Baltimore Orioles winning that division. Nothing has changed there. I do also have the Royals winning the AL Central. So that one would be a split between the two of us. I'm gonna switch my Rangers pick. I actually had them going pretty far, but I'm gonna switch my Rangers pick just to make this a little bit more fun. I'm gonna go with actually the Houston Astros to win that division. I like the bounce back there. And then I actually had the Braves previously as well, and this is not because of their start. I think my mind's been changed a little bit on this. I wanted to pick the Phillies previously. I couldn't get myself to do it because I felt like the Braves just had so much. But man, watching the Phillies play, there's just so much talent on that team. I'm going to switch to the Phillies. It makes this a little bit more fun between us as well. I'm not sticking with my Pirates pick. I must have drank a little bit last week. I'm not really sure what happened. I'm just gonna be a homer here since Joe is a homer with the Red Sox. I'm gonna go with the Cubs. Makes it fun for me to follow my team. And I'm gonna go with the Dodgers. I'd love to sit here and tell you that the Padres are gonna get that done, but Dodgers got too much. So my World Series matchup, this is gonna be kind of a fun one here. So I have the Phillies and I have the Astros in the World Series. Phillies, Astros, and I have the Phillies winning the World Series this year. I think that'd be fun. I think it's really cool to see a new team or a team that hasn't won it in a while get it done in a cool division. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll keep track of those. We'll kind of update you guys on who's ahead and who's in danger of potentially having to buy that jersey. But let's skip ahead a little bit to this week. We've got some awesome series coming up. We're going to do some series predictions and walk through it. Joe, you want to start us off with Dodgers versus Phillies?
Yeah, Dodgers Phillies. This was my series of the weekend. The Phillies are being cumbersome, though, by not listing who their probable starters are. But the Dodgers, of course, being a first-class organization, they have theirs with Yamamoto Game 1, Sasaki Game 2, and Glasnow Game 3. I'm going to go with the Dodgers 2 out of 3 losing the Sasaki game, but not because of Sasaki.
Okay. We did get some pitchers for the Phillies. Just came out, I think, recently. So on Friday we have Jesus Luzardo is the probable. On Saturday we've got Aaron Nola. And then on that Sunday game, looks like we are going to have Christopher Sanchez going against Glasnow. I like your prediction of 2 versus 3 there. I think the Dodgers get it done against the Phillies, even though they are my pick to win the World Series. I think this matchup is going to be fun, but I like 2 out of 3. I think Philly can get 1 out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good test that if you want to beat the Dodgers, you're going to have the arms, and we'll see if Luzardo and Sanchez can keep up with Yamamoto and Glasnow.
Yeah.
Nola's obviously a stud, but there's only one of them. So
Yeah, exactly. Orioles versus Royals. This is kind of a fun one too. Little AL matchup here.
yeah, the young guns versus the young guns. Did you get any starters for Baltimore?
Yeah, so we do have some starters for Baltimore, I believe here.
Okay.
So for Baltimore this week, we have Dean Kramer starting versus Seth Lugo on Friday. We are going to have Sagano and Michael Wacha pitching on Saturday. And Sunday, we're going to close it out with Cade Povich and Chris Bubic, who, by the way, just had a great game. I'm going to go actually here. I'm going to take the Orioles taking 2 out of 3. I like Kansas City. They've actually been playing really well. I like the youth of Baltimore. I think that they're really pumped up right now. So I kind of want to see Baltimore take 2 out of 3 there.
Gunnar Henderson, first pick of my fantasy baseball draft, will also be back tomorrow. So he will be available for the entire, get the cobwebs out against the Sox, their last game, and then hopefully ready to rock and roll against the Royals. But I also, actually, no, I have the Royals 2 out of 3. So,
2 out of 3. Okay. All right. I like that pick as well. We've got Blue Jays versus Mets. This is kind of a fun little matchup here too. Looks like we're going to have Gossman and McGill pitching on Friday. That's actually kind of a cool matchup. I'm not going to lie. I got to go with this matchup. I think the Jays sweep the Mets at home. Let's go. No, I think that's insane. I do have the Jays taking 2 out of 3 though. I think Gossman gets it done against McGill. In our second matchup of the week, we are going to have Bassett versus Griffin Canning, and our third matchup, we are going to have Bowden Francis versus David Peterson. Might be one of the most anticipated pitching matchups of the year. Yeah, dude, I just think New York's pitching staff is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the Blue Jays are hitting pretty well right now and are just going to, they're going to take them to town.
Yeah, I'm going 2 out of 3 Blue Jays. Simply because the AL is better than the NL. No, I think Toronto's they're looking good. Yep. Georgie Springer's hitting. So
he is. Got his first homer of the year today.
But yeah, the Mets starting rotation scares me.
Yes.
So
lots of concerns.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it sounds like it'll all come down to that Baltimore Kansas City series.
Yeah, we've got one more on tap. Might be one of my favorite of the week as well, with the Mariners versus Giants.
Yeah. Did you get the last starter going against Jordan Hicks for Seattle?
So on Sunday, that is still undecided. We do not know who Seattle will be pitching on Sunday, but we do know that we're going to get an awesome pitching matchup on Friday with Bryce Miller versus Justin Verlander. Young versus old school. Got to love it. Pitchers Park at San Fran. And then Brian Wu versus Robbie Ray, another young versus old matchup there. Gotta love that. It's like future versus past a little bit, but the past, those guys can still pitch. I like the Giants. I like the Giants to get 2 out of 3 there at home. I like the Vets to get it done. I really do. I like the pitching matchups, but I do think that the Giants have a little bit more on offense right now. And I think that they get it done.
I'm going to go Mariners 2 out of 3.
Dominant young arms.
The San Fran will win the Jordan Hicks game. Pick them up.
Yes, absolutely. Man, this has been a blast. I'm so pumped for the rest of the season. This is only week now going on 2 here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. we're really excited to share this season with you guys. Check in weekly. We will have podcasts dropping every Thursday. And be sure to check us out. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We'd love to connect with you guys. What else can you say but stay toasty, guys?